Good evening. My name is Omkar, and I welcome you to our webinar on Grow with SAP Digitization Journey without Large Capex. In this webinar, we will discuss common business challenges such as manual processes, lack of real-time integration across departments, poor data management, and how to address them with minimal investment. We'll also share practical industry examples that you can directly relate to your business. And before we begin, let me introduce TechOrbit Solutions. So, we are an SAP Gold partner and one of India's leading SAP consulting firms. We have delivered SAP projects across 9 countries, supported by a team of more than 300 SAP certified consultants. We have developed 8 in-house products designed to solve specific business challenges and improve operational efficiency. With delivery models that enable up to 3 times faster go lives, we have successfully completed over 150 SAP projects globally. And now I'd like to introduce Ajay, who will take this session ahead. Ajay brings over 20 years of experience across production, engineering, project management, and ERP integration. He has led multiple digital transformation initiatives and SAP implementations across industries, including manufacturing, food processing, pharma, distribution, and other process driven sectors. So, Ajay, over to you.
Thank you, Omkar. Just to confirm whether I am properly audible and the slides are also visible, right?
Yes, Ajay, you are audible and slides are also visible.
Okay. So thank you all for joining this webinar. Just wanted to also highlight that in case you have any questions, so in that case you can use the Q&A section to post your questions. Either we will, some of our team members might as well answer the questions, or we will have a question answer round at the end of the session. So, but feel free to use the Q&A tab to put forth your questions. Yeah. So, uh, Omkar has introduced me initially without like making much of a kind of an introduction or any of these parts. Before we jump into any kind of investments or capex or any of these things, let us see that what is the basic operational pain points which manufacturing or typically in any of the industries, not only manufacturing, but in any of the industries, which are the typical pain points which are bugging the business. So if we look at it from the traditional way of operations, typically due to there is less amount of real-time integration and the any of the ERP implementations what has been done in the past, those are kind of many of the things are in silos. There are many places wherein there are Excel sheets being used and there are manual processes which slow down the overall operations and also decision making. And in today's world of digital transformation and the way in which the digital infrastructure is expanding, this is becoming very much like a quick decisions are the key of the time. Now, with digitalization, we also come across various risk points. Basically, earlier, like I had a paper in my hand and the information was secured because the paper was in a secured environment. But now with the digital information, the role access and also the basically the approval controls and the SOD conflict, whatever is being faced, that becomes very much critical. So there, the having a digital security, having the correct access. So working on the principle of information has to be on need to know basis. So if certain information is required for a certain person, only that information to be passed on. If there is additional information which is being passed on, that is unnecessary clutter, and it also hampers the productivity. This even like having the right information at the right point also makes like reporting and auditing a big kind of an hassle, because I see many companies who take like months together to be prepared for their final year-end audits or closures on a monthly basis. Even on a month-end closure in finance for the finance team, it takes around 10 to 15 days on an average for this reporting. With digitization also, from government perspective also, there has been a lot of increase in the compliance requirements. Like I remember the times when we were having excise where the overall value of the monthly excise or the monthly turnover was to be reported. Now it is like with GST, we need to reconcile on an invoice level. So that kind of an accuracy and kind of reporting and the compliance requirements are getting higher up. It's not only about GST, but it's also about other tax and other government compliance and related stuff. So that is something which is very much crucial at this point, and typically it is a, I would say, a non-productive work which we are doing when we are spending days together just to reconcile and just to have records in place wherein data management is very much key. So even now, coming to the latest, when we are on cloud, even having excessive data or duplicate data, that is also a cost to the company, because even cloud, we need to pay for the cloud and the maintenance charges. Apart from that, now, like, this is one ask of the hour, I would say, that there are many of the companies who are coming up with smart information portals. Many of the transportation companies are coming up with portals. Banks are having their digital platforms. Even many of the, like, companies want their vendors to have online information on whatever be the updates. So those kind of things, having integrated with your ERP system and having a quick response, that any action you do on your ERP, the same actions should be replicated again in the real time to your other business partners. So these are something which are many of the, on a high level, if I look at it, many of the companies are struggling with, and this is typically where the digital roadmap and the digital transformation comes into picture. If you look at it now, uh, so when we are going into an ERP selection, what is the points now coming to these pain points and this things we are facing day in day out when we are selecting any cloud ERP, or if I want to judge that what is my cloud ERP on a performance level. So what would be the parameters which we should be looking at? So considering the industry experience and discussing with many of the partners, this is like something which has been the key factors or the key things which companies are looking at. First and foremost, now in the digital environment, security and compliance is something which is of the topmost priority. Now, if I look at it, what do you mean by security? More of data security, more of a, like, if there is certain our business, just imagine a situation wherein like you are not having your mobile phone for a day or two, or maybe for some time, you, if you are an online business and the portal shut down. Just to give an example, if we are, let's say, at a shopping counter in DMart, and the billing counter is shut down for, let's say, half 5 to 10 minutes, there will be a huge queue which will be lined up in front of them. So this kind of downtimes which are unacceptable in now in the market or in any of the places. So having kind of a infrastructure, having kind of a services which will maintain an uptime of the systems and have a minimum downtime or have a planned downtime, that is something which should be of the first priority at the moment. Once I talk about having the state of the art infrastructure and these things, the next thing comes is the cost. So what is like the cost which I am paying? So because it cannot be that I paying a hefty amount, which is a burden on my pocket and also eroding my bottom line. So there, the cost of ownership becomes a very critical factor. Here again, like, there are many innovations which are happening across the industries. Like, I was just reading an article with from LinkedIn some days back that from a PMO there was a directive to create an AI application on first week of January, and by first week of February, it was delivered and it was rolled out in the for use of the common people related to agriculture and farming. So this is the speed at which even big applications have been rolled out. Even so, that is something like if my solution is able to cope up and I can have those kind of automatic upgrades, that will give me an edge over the time and at a minimal cost. So what is the cost of the upgrade? That is also something which we need to check out. The next point I would also emphasize is innovation, which is like goes hand in hand with the upgrades and the new things which are happening in the market. So that is something which is also critically important, that how latest is my product. It should not happen that I have taken an ERP or a system for anything, and within, let's say, some of the days of time, or by the time I have implemented and started reaping its output, it becomes irrelevant for me. So that is not something which would be looked at. Apart from this, like any big organizations are driven by processes. So if I look at it, the standardized processes and having those embedded in the my system will be of great help, because that gives me an edge over, because for standard applications or basic operations of the company, we need not reinvent the things which are already being practiced by lots of things. So the edge or the differentiator is in the strategy or in the way in which we analyze results. And for that, having standardized processes is the key to it. If I talk about standardization, the flexibility is opposite to it. But again, business in Indian context has a lot of variables. And to deal with that variables, one fit for all will never happen. So their flexibility is something which is of key importance, which needs to be checked at. Localization is typically applicable for the countries wherein, or the often companies which are in across multiple countries, where we have different taxations, different currencies. So that becomes a critical factor where you have a multi-location environments. And as I mentioned earlier, like the integration and accessibility is something which is of key importance now, because there are many applications in the market which are small, good applications which can enhance productivity, which can sit on top of your ERP systems and can enhance your productivity to a great level. So that all things is something which is an ERP would give you as in results out of it. If you have these things in place, and to have all these things in place, a trusted partner is also of a key importance. So it's not only like it's a software provider or a software implementation consultant. It should be a business partner with you who is thinking with the way aligned with your vision and helping you to achieve your additional visions and the roadmap what you have. So taking this further, uh, I am right now going to talk about what is like how S4HANA, what is, first of all, what is S4HANA public cloud, and like how it will be helpful for you for your future. Now, if I look at it, what is S4HANA cloud? So it is the latest platform which is provided as a SaaS solution by SAP, more like a business suite, which caters to each and every individual requirement a business will have. So people who have been working with SAP in the past, the ECC or even the S4HANA, the on-premise solutions, there it was like the ERP was separate, the analytics was separate, and there were many modules to it. But in the public cloud or the new cloud applications, whatever are available now, all these things are integrated together. So what it brings on the table, so your focus has shifted from doing data entry to have kind of automations in place which will capture huge amount of data, which will provide you with good end-to-end analytics, like whatever is there, and you will have your updates in the system, which is like SAP, whatever the upgrades or the uh, features which SAP is bringing. It is once you update your system, the same is available for you directly. So it is not something like you will need to go again and do certain additional steps for it. Only doing the activation of certain features will give you the benefits of it. It's all more or less similar to having upgrading your Android version or your iOS version. So that's the thing which is the cloud version which is they are aiming at. uh, with that you get a basically real time view of your, like, I remember the days when we were having monthly review meetings on the data, wherein we used to prepare the reports for that every, like, 4 to 5 days it was to take. From that we reached to a level wherein daily reports could be generated. But now the generation where we are living at, we want all these reports, all the analytics to be available real time. It should not be like I am relying on a 1 day old data or 2 days old data and having my reports run based on certain BI tools wherein I am exporting the information and doing the analytics further. So these kind of analytics and results, we are expecting to have it on a real-time basis on a click of a button. These features are kind of the prominent features which are available when you are going for the S4HANA public cloud. Or what is like S4HANA cloud is there. So what is basically public cloud? So there are two versions of the cloud environment. One is the public cloud, another is the private cloud. The private cloud is more or less similar to the old infrastructure, but with the latest features. A public cloud is a new offering with which SAP has come up, which is wherein basically SAP has come up with like all of the research for the past 50 years, whatever have been the learnings they have, so that they have kind of tried to put in more or less like a template. It is a mixture of standardization, having a great amount of flexibility and agility, so that you have your standard processes in place, but you also have the flexibility to modify them or to build your own module pools. Along with that, this agility, like the time which you need to implement these kind of ERP has, like earlier, any implementation projects could definitely go to around 1 year or more. But now we are seeing that we are able to deliver and implement a complete module pools out of SAP within a span of 3 to 6 months. So that is the maximum time we are looking at, and that makes it more relevant to the market. Like if we are able to give you requirements and the implementation is happening within 2 to 3 months, it is more of a relevance, and the technology is kind of latest. The also the good part of this is not only limited to the one, or it's like if your business is expanding, like you're going into multiple countries, multiple locations, it is very easy to scale up. So scalability wise, if you want to add any additional legal entities, if you want to have the infrastructure or the have the base ready and use it for multiple locations, is really possible. And you at a fast pace, this can be rolled out across locations. So this brings in like a good amount of process excellence. What you have, uh, the Fiori applications or the app-based access, what you have, that gives in to you the very good user experience. So basically, when you are using this particular applications, now people are very much used to working with app-based technologies and the softwares, and that is something which is unique offering which SAP also has, wherein all the applications and things are directly available as an app for any new user who wants to use SAP. Does not need to remember kind of big T codes or big kind of jargons. If he knows proper business, the business what he is doing in, and that is the knowledge which is sufficient. So we can now interact with SAP in native language. Like I just have to type, let's say, create a purchase order, and you will be guided to the next steps. So this is something which is more now user friendly as an experience is growing, and this gives a edge you can have. So training costs and your other overheads go down reasonably out of this. If I look at it, this is a source from SAP. So this is something like when we calculate on a 7 year as a total TCO, we have seen that on the cloud ERP, if we are going, it is more or less around 30, 35%, 33% cheaper if I consider any on-premise ERP, which is on a similar list. So there we have a kind of a big kind of a savings we can have over the years. And this is something which is a future-ready ERP. So this will be your base for your all your digital transformations, right from the start to having building up. So as SAP is also having its upgrades, and the there is a roadmap which is available, wherein there are yearly two upgrades which are being rolled out by SAP. So that gives you an edge over the uh, as in every year you need not put your additional efforts on developing new features or these things. Just in the year 2026, SAP has a roadmap to release around 300 new AI agents. So that will ease out the automate the work in finance, in supply chain, in logistics, manufacturing, in each and every area. So SAP is kind of aggressively going ahead with adopting AI, and there is this kind of a good we are also and working with many of our customers to get these kind of AI features enabled and having those solutions enabled for them in the system. So this is in there. If I look at it from a business value, like uh, typically a question comes in that what's in it for me. So like if I say that okay, I am working now with an ERP, what is the thing what I would be looking at as in business value if I am going to a S4HANA cloud. Now, there is a lot of consulting and other things also involved in this. But if I look at it as an overall, there is a huge amount of reduction in your operational cost. So does that mean that you will be having like more this it means like you will have more time to have analytics, to have more fruitful analysis and create strategies further for the information what you have. Many of the things which are not captured in the additional traditional environments where we are using Excel or emails, those all things are getting we can have those enabled in the system. If, just if I talk about the finance area, we have observed that the typical time needed by any organization for any month end closing is around 8 to 10 days, which has reduced significantly to around 4 to 4 days was the average which we have seen across the industries. The reason is typically there are many of the automations which have been introduced, which we have enabled or created for our clients, and which gives them an upper edge. So the focus has shifted from data entry or invoice entry to only handling the exceptions. So the data entry is automated. You are just seeing whether if it is not matching the three-way match or the basic validations which we are enabling the system. So if there is any validation which is getting triggered, on those exceptions which form around 20% of the overall transaction, that is something which is to be reviewed by a person. So that reduces the overall volume of the transactions and they can do some fruitful work and other things. Even from sales point of view, if I look at it, there is a huge amount of increase in the order processing. So there are automations which are possible for each of these. So various kind of entry points are possible. There is order entries, the follow up, the reports, the integration with the delivery team and other things that is seamlessly possible. So that reduces a huge amount of administrative tasks which we need to do here basically, because right from the person who is actually getting the sales order, there is a lot of administration work which is needed in kind of monitoring those orders and putting in these things. So that gets reduced tremendously with proper implementation of SAP. Again, in procurement, there is a huge amount of savings which are possible basically due to having online visibility and online tracking of these these systems. So there is like right from your purchase requisitions to RFQ process with the procurement systems which are available. This also helps you in getting insights about the performance of various vendors, suppliers, and how they are working or comparing against each other. So that gives you an valuable information and insights like how do you want to strategize, which areas you are in, and the things further. A new kind of development or new things which have come up additionally is the integration of the R&D and the engineering. Basically, there is like PS or the WBS structure, if the people are aware. So those were already available, but in looking at the requirements of the automotive or auto ancillaries, there has been a huge amount of improvement in the overall engineering change management process, right from having control over bombs, designs, and having those features directly passed on to the production environment. So typically the cases wherein you have your design team has done some changes in your design, it is seamlessly the transitioning can be managed through SAP to make those designs relevant and release, and to have all those checks in place so that you have a minimum wastage and the time to market is reduced considerably. So that gives you an edge to, if you are constantly need to develop new products, need to pass them to the market, the time to market is something very critical, and that is something wherein you can have a good amount of reduction with the use of digital technologies. Manufacturing, looking at the overall operations and the online productions, typically I've seen many a times there is a kind of always a conflict or a conflict of requirements wherein the finance team wants maximum amount of data in the system, but the operations wants to enter the minimum amount of data because they want their team to be working to make something productive, and doing data entry is a non-value adding activity. So data entry to make it easier and low touch so that you get a good amount of data which can be used for analysis, also not burdening the operations team onto heavy data entry. So that is something which gives you a beautiful insight onto the operations, the real-time status, and the management team can take the operations team can take decisions on a real-time basis onto how to meet the customer requirements. So the response time of the operations to the changes from the market, that can be improved drastically using proper technology solutions from SAP. Uh, as a supply chain as a whole for deliveries, so there is a beautiful amount of planning which can be there. You can predict the dates. So there are AI agents which are available, which can be give you the predictions about the forecast and the demands, and these things can utilize to have your whole overall supply chain to be very much effective. So there are various modules which are available from SAP related to transfer management, fleet management, other things. So that can be giving you a very great amount of flexibility, and uh, the overall operations efficiency goes up tremendously. All in all, to maintain all such kind of applications, if you are dealing with multiple applications, you will be dealing with multiple vendors, and overall maintenance cost for these IT infrastructure is going up. Now, in many companies, the technology is also considered as important as your other machines or capex which you're going in. So there, to make that arm to be strong, if you have one solution which can cater to all your requirements and all business areas, that gives you a better edge. You have one vision and a digital journey which reduces the overall cost of ownership. So that way, you need not go for multiple locations or multiple vendors for your new innovations and the new requirements. That can be achieved directly through the value offerings out of SAP. So that is like all from my side. Are there any questions? Uh,
Hi Ajay, I would like to ask some questions on behalf of attendees. So my first question is, what is the typical timeline for implementation of public cloud?
Okay. So if I look at this, so typically public cloud follows the same kind of methodology as it was for the earlier implementation. So Activate methodology is being followed. There is now an again improved version of this, which is a fast implementation methodology. But even if I look at the typical methodology, we can do that implementation in 3 to 6 months. Now, the reason why this timing was so short, two things in there. First of all, for a public cloud, there are certain templates which have been provided by SAP itself, wherein the processes are in there. So the explore or the first business assessment is done basically for the companies, and there is a fit to standard workshop. So that happens. The second part is we have also created or built many accelerators, as mentioned by Onkar earlier. So there is like 8 IPs which have been registered on the SAP store, which help on to the moving fast with the journey. And secondly, if I look at it, we have done around 14 implementations in the past 2 years. And with that kind of an experience, we have now accelerators which can reduce the development time for the custom objects considerably. So that way we can achieve the implementations within around 3 to 6 months. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay, for answering this. My next question is it possible to integrate directly with the customer EDI?
Yes. So this is something which is very much easily possible now. There is a solution which is available from SAP, which is called as the integration suite, using which you get multiple benefits out of it. So the first thing is when you are integrating with not even the customer EDI or a customer portal, you can use to integrate with any of your applications outside. So it is typically like if you want to have maybe vendor portal or any customer experience portal or have your uh, uh, integration with any business platforms. So that is typically possible. The major risk in all these points is that there is a always a possibility that there is some virus or uh, some attack, digital attack, which is done from other systems onto the users. This risk is majorly eliminated. The reason being, with the use of integration suite, your direct database is not exposed to the environment. It is only the uh, point of information what you're sharing is exposed, and that reduces the risk. Yeah, hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, Ajay, thank you. So my next concern was we have heard that SAP public cloud is not flexible enough. So how can we adopt it as per our requirements?
Um, Thank you for raising this particular doubt, whoever has raised it. This is something which is a common notion across the industry that public cloud is very much rigid and standard, and my custom requirements will not be able to be fulfilled from this. But SAP has given various options to have extensibility, right from having your basic some key user extensibility wherein you can modify fields and add certain small steps or functionality, from there to even be creating custom module pools. So we have created with the use of BTP and other things specific module pools for different processes as per the customer requirement. So that is definitely possible. And I would say, like from the manufacturing industry or many of the industry verticals point of view, there is nothing which is like no process which is we have come across till now around in the 14 implementations wherein we were not able to fulfill the requirements from SAP. So even for the public cloud, that is something which is really possible. And the SAP is also providing many enhancements which can be used for these particular requirements.
Okay. Ajay, so my last question was, what could be the pricing for SAP public cloud, or how could you define the pricing?
Um, Okay, so this pricing is basically depends on customer to customer. There is a variation. I will tell you what is the variation in between. So the typically we will have to go through your user counts and what is the functions what the users are performing. So based on that, we can create a user matrix for you, and the licensing is per user. So SAP has a model of per user charges which you have, and they have a type of users which are delivering a different kind of activities being done. So based on the users and this, we will be able to in a better position. If there is any particular requirement, we can definitely get in touch with you and have analysis of your users, and then we can provide you with a good amount of pricing. So there is two aspects or two parts of this. One is the license cost, which is going to SAP. The other one is the implementation charges or the one-time implementation per charges. So even for these one-time implementation charges, again, I based on the complexity and the scenarios what you have, it might be varying a bit, but it will be like we can discuss with you once we understand your complexity and the requirements what you have. This also we can give you a estimate on the pricing.
Okay, thank you, Ajay, for answering all the questions. Now, to wrap up, modernization is no longer about large upfront spend, but it is about making smarter phase decisions. And if our webinar or this session aligns with your roadmap, our team is available to take the discussion forward. And I would like to thank Ajay for sharing your knowledge with all the members who have joined this session. And I would also like to thank everyone who has taken time and joined this session. So thanks a lot, everyone. We would like to wrap up this webinar.